If I could have your attention, we'll go ahead and get our program started here this morning. I'd like to welcome you all also on behalf of Nebraska Wesleyan. I'm Dick Janda. I do the play-by-play of the Nebraska Wesleyan football and basketball games on KFOR radio. And so I'm very privileged and happy to be able to do that, really enjoy the games. And a lot of you may or may not know that I was the sports information director at Nebraska Wesleyan back in the 1970s. So I've kind of got a long history with Nebraska Wesleyan. Harold Chafee was the coach then, back in the 70s, when I was doing the sports information. I interviewed Harold many times, but Harold, I promise that you don't have to worry about any secret recordings that'll be turning up on the internet. In those days, you would have to have known about it. I'd had to have a giant reel-to-reel recorder in the same room. Harold actually opened Old Main back in 1887. No, that's not true. Harold appeared in the broadcast booth for the first game of the season here a couple of weeks ago. I thought he wanted to be the color analyst for the game, and I think he just wanted to be in where there was air conditioning. And that new press box that we've got over there at Able Stadium, which is really nice, and we really all appreciate. Well, I'm delighted to join you in honoring this year's Athletic Hall of Fame inductees. This program started back in 1970, recognizes the contributions of our former student athletes based on these criteria. Graduation from Nebraska Wesleyan with 10 years since completion of their last season of eligibility for competition. Must have lettered a minimum of 2 years in a varsity sport at Nebraska Wesleyan. And in addition, a former athlete must have achieved at least one of the following: been named first team all-conference, established a school record, conference record, or national record, must have been named an NCAA or NAIA all-region or all-district, and named an All-American or honorable mention All-American selection. The inductees are selected by a committee of individuals with a range of historical knowledge about Wesleyan's athletic program. Here's a list of the committee members, most of which I think are here with us this morning. So maybe we could recognize them. Alum and past Spirit of the Plainsman Award winner Hollis Anderson. I see Hollis here. Past Spirit of the Plainsman Award winner and former Sports Information Director Jim Angeli. Jim is here. Hall of Famer and current Director of Track and Cross Country, Dr. Ted Bulling. Not sure if Ted is here. I did not see him. He's got a meet today. Former coach and athletic director and past Spirit of the Plainsman Award winner, Harold Chafee, who always gives me material for my opening at this breakfast. Current Sports Information Director, Alex Linden. Alex is back there in the back. Guy that makes my job much easier. Alum, Hall of Famer, and past president of the Booster Club, Steve McKelvey. Not sure if Steve is here. And the current director of athletics, Dr. Ira Zeff. Well, this year we induct a very impressive list of individuals to the Nebraska Wesleyan Athletic Hall of Fame. One of our goals today to give you a picture of their contributions to Nebraska Wesleyan athletics. A profile on each is included in the program at your table, so you can kind of go through that as we go along. The inductees have each invited a friend, coach, or teammate to help introduce them. So let's begin with our first inductee. Lucky you, Sandy. You're first up. Sandy Shaneyfeld Connolly from the class of 1994. And here to present Sandy's award is former coach Doug Williamson. Will Sandy and Doug please come to the podium?
Yeah, I'm kind of tall like Dr. Olds. I think this is set for someone a little bit taller than me. It's great to be back at Nebraska Wesleyan. It always is. And since I'm the first presenter, I just want to say that having been up here now for the third time to help present an award, I stand in awe of the accomplishments of all inducted into the Hall of Fame. For me, it's especially nice that several of the recipients today are people that I knew when I was a faculty member and coach here, and were part of Sandy's generation. So that's especially pleasant and gratifying to see familiar faces and to have seen some of the accomplishments that happened on the field. And when I get to the statistics part, I just want to say a special mention of thanks to a man that was a great friend of mine when I was here, and a guy who really helped me immeasurably with the start of the women's soccer program, Jim Angeli, when he was the sports information director. He was a godsend to our program. So. Sandy Schoenfeld, now Sandy Schoenfeld Connolly, was the first ever recruit for the Nebraska Wesleyan women's soccer program, which was born 20 years ago this fall. Sandy was a captain of those early teams for 3 of her 4 seasons, but far more importantly, she was the program's heart and soul and the model for her teammates of an impeccable work ethic, a thirst for improvement, a commitment to teammates and to academics, and to excellence in all endeavors. Little did I know when Sandy sat in my office with her parents, Mary and Roger, on her visit to campus during her senior year of high school, how deeply and how wonderfully Sandy would impact the fledgling women's soccer program. Now, as good a player as Sandy was, she did have one significant adjustment to make in moving from high school to the college game. When I went to watch Sandy play a game for Millard South in the spring of her senior year, I knew in the first 10 minutes that she would be an impact player here at Wesleyan. But at the 10-minute mark of the match, Sandy's coach substituted for all of his midfielders. And for the rest of the game, that block of players came in and out every 10 minutes. Uh-oh, I thought. For those of you not familiar with soccer rules, in high school, there's free substitution. But in college, substitution rules are more restrictive. And on top of that, in the fall of 1993, since the call from President John White came to me in my office in March, and I said, well, we'll start in 94, right, John? And he said, oh, no, we expect you to have a team up and running in August. Uh-oh. So we only had 8 real soccer players that first year. And the other 8 on the team were recruited from the ranks of women on campus who had played soccer in the 4th grade. Or in the case of our first goalkeeper, and this is a true story, athletes who at least seen a few soccer matches. She was a gymnast, thank goodness. So in Sandy's first contest for Wesleyan, she worked her backside off for the first 10 minutes, and then she looked to the bench to see if I could give her a bit of a breather. I smiled, shrugged my shoulders, and said, there's nobody to come in for you. So I said, pace yourself. Sneak in your rest on the field. And never again did Sandy look expectantly to the bench for a sub, and she became one of the grittiest 90-minute players I've ever coached. As they say on the NPR business show Marketplace, let's do the numbers. Sandy and her teammates set the tone for Wesleyan women's soccer with 4 consecutive winning seasons to begin the program, posting a record of 65, 23, and 1. Sandy anchored the midfield for all 4 seasons. She's 8th in the program history in goals scored with 35, 2nd in career assists with 62, and that puts her in 6th in career points with 132. Her single season marks of 25 and 23 assists rank 5th and 6th in the Wesleyan record books. And by the way, 3 of the 4 other single season assist totals that are above hers were from her teammate Jackie Newhouse, who went into the Hall of Fame last year. Sandy went on to contribute to more than 30 team victories as an assistant coach and a head coach after graduation. She earned All-Conference, All-Great Plains, All-Midwest, and All-American honors, along with academic All-American recognition. In her final 2 seasons, the team was ranked 20th in the nation, both here in the NAIA national polls. And as those of you who know Wesleyan athletics know, when a team is nationally ranked in the NAIA, they are, as those teams were, the only team in those top 25 not to give athletic scholarships. Pretty significant. Now, I also want to mention that Sandy contributed to 2 distinct accomplishments her senior year, and we actually saw the video at a reunion last night. We won the first ever conference championship that there was for women's soccer, and in her senior year, thanks to Jim Angeli, who had the thankless task of compiling all the information, we won a National Soccer Coaches Association Team Academic Award. We had the highest team GPA in the nation that year. And oh, by the way, the highest ranking team on the men's side that year, Harvard. The rosters of those teams were filled with amazingly talented soccer players, and in the spirit of excellence, recognizing excellence, those players, Sandy's teammates, unhesitatingly affirmed her leadership by voting her a captaincy for 3 years. She was our linchpin, our catalyst, our glue. Sandy's impressive array of accomplishments, both on the soccer field and the classroom, were achieved during most of her time at Wesleyan against a backdrop of worry and sadness. Her dad, Roger, fell ill midway through her time at Wesleyan and died between her junior and senior years. To be able to persevere through those times of sorrow and grieving makes Sandy's track record even more noteworthy. Sandy comes from one of the most supportive, loving, and amazing families that one could ever imagine. Sandy was instrumental in creating the same kind of family during her soccer career at Nebraska Wesleyan, and she and Shay are doing the same in their own home today. I am blessed with some vivid, wonderful memories from my coaching career. One video highlight that I like to replay in my mind from time to time is of Sandy carrying the ball down the left side of the field from her midfield position, faking left, cutting right, sharply inside, and drilling a bullet of a shot to the upper right corner of the goal from 20 to 25 yards out. That was a trademark move in Sandy's career, and I will carry that vision with me for years to come. On that note, I proudly present for induction to the Hall of Fame at Nebraska Wesleyan University the first recruit of the Wesleyan women's soccer program, distinguished athlete, student, coach, mother, attorney, my friend, and one of the finest soccer players and human beings I've ever known, Sandy Shaneyfelt Connolly.
Thank you, Doug. I also want to say that this is a very special day for me and for my family. I'd like to thank Nebraska Wesleyan University for this great honor and to recognize my outstanding teammates and coaches who made this all possible. I'd like to say a special thanks to my very first soccer coaches, which was my mom and my dad, to my 2 older brothers for making me tough, to my husband, my 3 kids, and the rest of my family for supporting me in everything I do. Sorry. My time at Wesleyan on the women's soccer team will always be treasured. Not for the wins, not for the achievements, but for the people and the places and the memories. One of the biggest influences on my life has been my coach, Doug Williamson, who shares in this honor with me. And he made a special trip from Vermont just to be here today to present for me, so appreciate that. Finally, I want to dedicate this honor in memory of my biggest fan. That's my dad, and I know that he's still cheering me on, so thank you.
Congratulations, Sandy. Doug, you're making me want to do some play-by-play of soccer here, I think, in the future. Next is Gerald Seitz, class of 1978. Now here to present Gerald's Award is former teammate Dan Klaus from the class of 1977. Will you both please come to the podium?
First of all, I would like to add my congratulations to all of the inductees to the Hall of Fame. I would also like to start by thanking this institution for giving all of us the opportunity to do something that we all love. In addition to the academic challenges that we faced here, the athletic challenges we had were certainly part of our career here, and a very memorable one at that. It is my privilege today to present to Jerry Seitz this award for induction into the Hall of Fame, because I had the pleasure of playing with Jerry for 2 years on the football team at Wesleyan. Now, I would like to tell you that I'm the reason that he's here. That is, I would like to tell you that every single pass that I threw to him was right in step and hit him right square between the numbers. I can't tell you that. In fact, what I quickly realized with Jerry Seitz was I really just had to get it into the general area, and Jerry would figure out how to catch it. In fact, the first time I realized that was during my junior year. It would have been Jerry's sophomore year, at a game against Dana College. And understand, throughout the 4 years that I played, we never lost to Dana. But here it was our junior year, and it was 4 minutes to go, and we were tied with them. And we just could not imagine losing to them. But with 4 minutes to go, we got the ball on our 12-yard line, and my recollection is we had 2 plays that didn't do much, and we had to go quite a ways to get a first down. And as I went back to drop back to pass, I see this jersey in the middle of a bunch of Dana players, and it was the only hope. And as I threw the ball, somehow Jerry came down with it, got the first down, went on and scored. Now that was the junior year. So I knew coming back the next year that I had somebody that you could count on to catch the passes, and I was right. It was remarkable to be on the field with Jerry, because it just really didn't matter who we were playing, who we were covering, or who was covering him. He just had this instinct to get the ball. In fact, one of the skills that you hear coaches talk about a wide receiver is the ability to catch in a crowd, and my recollection is that was Jerry's best ability. As I was becoming prepared for this, I started going back through some of the articles, and time again, I kept seeing, how many passes in each game Jerry caught. And then I started thinking about that and realized that the entire season of 1976, Jerry was responsible for 62% of the receptions for the entire team. So basically out of, 80-some receptions that year, Jerry had 50 of them. And what's remarkable about that is, of course, the other team starts to realize that there is the favored receiver, and so they're going to obviously put their best defender on him. They're going to do whatever they can to keep him from getting the ball. But somehow he kept doing that. And the highlight of that, and I was asking Jerry earlier what his recollection was, and I knew it would be the same as mine, because there's always rivalries, of course, and the 2 biggest ones that I can recall were Doane and Midland. And neither one of them during my 4 years up to my senior year had we beaten in football. Well, we had taken care of Doane earlier in the year, but now we were facing Midland College, and at that time they're nationally ranked in the NAIA. I think at one time they were second in the country. Both their offense and defense was ranked. And going into the fourth quarter, we're down 24-7. But somehow we managed to scrap back and get to 24-21. And we've got time running out, and with 1:47 or something left in the game, we get the ball on our 48-yard line to try to score and win the game. And I still to this day remember this as if it were yesterday. But for 3 plays in a row, Jerry would take off and start running his routes, and I know what the other coaches were saying: don't let anyone get behind you. So as we went back and Jerry takes off, the defense just bailed out to the back, and Jerry would nice square off to the sideline and catch the ball, step out of bounds, save the clock. 3 times in a row. Jerry took us down to the 11-yard line where we finally scored and for once beat Midland. Now, that's, to me, indicative of Jerry. He did what you had to do to succeed in this game. He, time and time again, stepped up and said, count on me, because I'll be there to do it. And I think the statistics bear that out. That game I mentioned, Midland, he, at that time, set the Wesleyan career record for the most receptions in a game. He had 10 in that game. And for the year, he set the then career record for most reception in the season as 50 receptions. I think he also had the career record for yards in that year. So clearly Jerry was prepared to take responsibility for the receivers in our team and lead them where they needed to go. And it was funny, at the end of the year, rightfully, Jerry was recognized as all-conference, all-state. And I remember the article that the reporter for the paper did on the all-conference or all-state award, and he interviewed various people that received that award. And he interviewed Jerry and asked, Jerry, what's the secret to your success? And of course, here's, his opportunity to be profound and whatever. And Jerry says, I just like to catch the ball. And I remember a lot of the team gave him, I just love to catch the ball. That was it. And I remember the team kind of gave him a hard time. Oh, wow, Jerry, that was really profound. But then I got to thinking about it. And I said, isn't that really what we're all doing? I mean, we're here playing a game that we love to play. We're not getting paid. Unlikely that we're going to make a career of this. So we're out there because we love competing. We love the camaraderie with our teammates. We love the chance to get out on a glorious fall day and go out and play a game we all love to play. And so I think Jerry really got it right. I love to catch the ball. I love to block. I love to tackle. Whatever it is, that's what this is all about. Doing what we love to do with the people we enjoy doing it with. So it is my privilege to present this award to somebody that I thoroughly enjoyed playing with, that I could count on game in and game out to be there when we needed him, to be a leader of his position players and help the younger kids learn the ropes of what they were doing here, and really, I think, exemplifying what athletics at Wesleyan is all about. So it's my pleasure to present this award for induction into the Hall of Fame to Jerry Seitz.
I'd like to thank Dan for being my presenter today, and what a great field general and leader he was on our team. A very smart quarterback, a very accurate thrower, and he was much of the reason for our success on offense as we had success that year. Thank you so much, Dan. Again, I appreciate it. Dr. Zeff, I want to thank you for inviting me here today, and Rochelle Hadley for organizing the event. And again, Nebraska Wesleyan, everybody that I talk to, I recommend the school to them, at every opportunity. It's a tremendous, tremendous institution. And I guess, football being a team game, I'd just like to recognize my coaches and my teammates and also some of the teachers here at Wesleyan that really helped me in my career. Coach Chafee, of course, he's such a great role model. I asked him today if he still jogs the track like he did, for so many years. And still walks it, I'm sure today. And the help that you gave me. And I'd like to congratulate this year's team, wish them luck on the homecoming game today. And again, just thanks so much for Dan. My goodness, what an eloquent speaker. I can see why he's a successful attorney. And thanks for the opportunity for me to be here today.
Congratulations, Jerry. Dan, I have a story or two about Dana myself. Brings back a memory. Nebraska Wesleyan played at Dana a couple of years ago, and it had snowed the night before. At Dana, had to do the games outside of the press box, not in, but outside. I cleared off a nice area, set up my equipment, went down to interview the coach. I came back, there's a guy with a leaf blower blowing the snow off of all the rest of the seats all over my equipment. We got it thawed out till we got the game on. So, a lot of memories. Nebraska Wesleyan and Dana, that's for sure for me too. Well, our third inductee is Gina Dunsing Chambers from class of 1998. Now here to present Gina's award is Ann Schroeder. Will you both please come to the podium?
It is with great pride that I introduce to you Gina Dunsing Chambers as a Hall of Fame inductee to Nebraska Wesleyan. I was Gina's volleyball coach while she attended Norris High School, where she was a stellar student athlete. She was a leader, a role model, and the team constantly fed off her positive energy. Let me give you a little example. During a match against Pius, Gina went down with a bad ankle sprain. And it was the size of a tennis ball by the time we got her to the sideline. Next thing I looked up, and we got beat 15-0. That's back before we went to 25. And Raleigh scored. Then Gina rallied the Titans from the sideline, and we came back to win the next two sets to win the match. Remember that? Yeah. Gina's courage, passion, and tireless efforts have built a legacy for which she and her family should be proud. Gina is her father's daughter. I remember PD, her father, stopping by one day to see me. He said, "Ann, I'm going to go to the school board to have the varsity volleyball matches moved from the middle school gym to the high school gym. You can either go with me or I'll go alone." Now understand that volleyball was the only varsity sport not competing in that high school gym. That next year, we were playing our matches in the high school gym. Just like her dad. Gina always wants the best for whoever she's working for or with. There's a quote from Napoleon Hill, a great writer on success, that reads, "What the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." If Gina puts her mind to accomplishing something, there isn't anything that will stand in her way. I'm so proud of you, Gina. Please join me in congratulating her.
Thank you, and it's just a wonderful day to celebrate here, and I think I'm even equally excited or more excited just to see a lot of the familiar faces that I have not seen for years. I no longer coach here, but I do teach here, and so as the pictures started surfacing and we had lots of fun in the department up there, one of my colleagues nicely presented this for me. So I just wanted to share that with all of you, and kind of hoping he would be here today to kind of make sure that it might not be appropriate, but it's a good laugh anyway. So I do congratulate the other inductees, and it's kind of a neat class that we are with, and Jerry, we're kind of all in the same grade here, but it would be fun to hear more stories about some of your events as well too. I want to first and foremost just thank the Lord, my Heavenly Father. I look back and I'm truly blessed that He watched over myself and our teammates and our coaches with all the travels and the trips and the snow. And I'm really fortunate that I didn't come through anything with a severe injury. Yes, we had the ankle sprains and the sore shoulders, but as I look at some of the injuries that are now occurring to athletes, you know, some severe career-ending injuries, I'm very fortunate that I was able to play in a healthy and a sound body. I want to thank Wesleyan. And Dr. Oles, you joke about having flip scores. I played with flip scores in the field house, and I don't know this for a fact, but I'm wondering if my father also was the one that said, get us electronic scoreboards. So we had the flip scores. We also had the blinding sun that came in, and sure enough, that game time would start at 7 o'clock, and by 7:30 as a middle hitter, you are not seeing the ball. You're only seeing the sun blazing through the windows. And I also just want to thank Ira and Joe and Jim Angeli. And not only have I seen you more as mentors and supervisors, but I've also now seen you as friends that we can share and laugh and joke about and remember the good old times. And Jim, you celebrated alongside of Bryn and I as athletes as if you were right there on the playing field with us, and you supported it and you wrote about it, and it was just always neat to see those cheers with you. And Joe, I remember the Taylor Gym days. As a student athlete, I worked in her office, and we were shoulder to shoulder and back to back, and if she wanted to go use a typewriter, I had to pull away, let her slide through, and then I could pull back. And so we did a lot of pulling and moving and shaking in that tight little area right there. I do want to thank my teammates and coaches. Obviously, it's so much easier to talk about them, and we have all these inside stories that we can share, and it kind of gets lost on the ones that aren't here. But the beauty that you get to share with them and the tireless and sleepless nights kind of all pays off afterwards. As Sandy says, we don't remember the wins, we don't remember the scores, but it's always the memories that you do share. I'm blessed with 4 daughters. 3 are here right now. We're adopting a 4th from Haiti. But I'm also blessed with an amazing husband and family that just have celebrated this day with me, and they continue to celebrate it. And it's our joy now to watch that experience of what sports can do with growth and learning and character and leadership and discipline kind of get instilled into your own children right now. So I hope I can continue that on down from what my coaches and my parents have given to us, that I can share with our children as well too. Last and least are my parents. I think of the first time that I probably went to an organized event. We all played kickball, and the unorganized event was my father was the all-time pitcher. And so in our neighborhood, everyone came over to the Dunsing household, and it was the good old kickball is how we started, and he was the all-time pitcher. He said he was unbiased, he was fair, that's what he was gonna do. We played before supper, we would go eat supper. Mom always had food on the table. She didn't even ask that we had to wash our hands back then. We could sit, eat, and we could go play again. And so he was the all-time pitcher. But I look at those kickball days, and I look at the first organized youth league I might have attended, and I kind of see where that went, but I don't ever think we would have imagined that it would have started in the backyard and gone here to Wesleyan. And now actually I get to share it a lot on many of my travels to Haiti, where I teach children and young women on the side of a mountain the sport of volleyball. And for that I'm grateful, and I celebrate this day with all of you as well. Thank you.
Congratulations, Gina. There may be some in the crowd that are saying, talk about those Taylor Gym days. What's a typewriter? Daddy, what's a typewriter? Our 4th inductee is Mitch Mosser, also from the class of 1998. Now here to present Mitch's award is former Nebraska Wesleyan basketball assistant coach Bob Bargan, who will you both please come to the podium?
Shortest bunch of presenters I've ever seen. Congratulations to everyone that's going into the Hall of Fame today. I think one thing that you hear as the presenters talk about is leadership and giving themselves up for the betterment of the team. Jim Angeli and I, probably not too many people know this, but Jim Angeli and I were roommates while I was here at Wesleyan. We were on a basketball trip in Florida, and I was sick the whole time. And I was so hoping he was going to get it. But he let me have it twice. I want to tell you how great it is to be back at Nebraska Wesleyan. Certainly has changed in walking across the campus today. I actually did get to lead some folks to this building, only by remembering where Kip did this 3 years ago. I spent some very, very great years of my life and of my coaching career at Nebraska Wesleyan University, and I will always be thankful for that opportunity. When Dick was reading off the criteria for being inducted into the Hall of Fame, one of the things he said was you had to be a Wesleyan graduate in 10 years, or I thought that's what he said, and I thought, whew, Mitch just made it. It's especially great to be here to present such a special person and an athlete to the Nebraska Wesleyan Hall of Fame as Mitch Mosser. I did say person first. Mitch is a great person. He's a great athlete, but in order to be that great athlete, he had to become a great person in his life. I'm so blessed to have the opportunity to have coached Mitch. I will say that I attended and recruited some of the games when he was at Ralston High, and I did have my doubts. But I'm glad he came, and I'm glad I got to be here with him. It's great to have worked with him, coached him, and now be a friend of his. I truly believe that in the 34 years that I coached basketball, I've never seen a young man mature into such a great man as Mitch Mosser. The changes Mitch went through and the things that he did for our program are I could go through so many. I feel a little bit bad that I don't have the statistics and the catches and the digs and Doug talked about the long shot from the wing or wherever it was that went in and all that kind of stuff. I don't have Mitch's stats. I'm sure he does. And he could probably give you those. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not really. I remember one of the, to go along Doug's lines a little bit, I remember one of Mitch's accomplishments is when we were playing in the Weary Center, and it was in the regionals, and Mitch has the ball, bringing the ball up the floor, and everybody's saying, "Pass it to Kip! Pass it to Kip!" He didn't. He pulled up, hit a 30-footer, and the next thing you know, we're in the Final Four. That's pretty much the way it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Of all the people who have either been inducted to or are going to be inducted into the Nebraska Wesleyan Hall of Fame, I don't think there's anyone more worthy, or will there ever be anybody more worthy than our point guard. And that's Mitch. Most of the games when things weren't going the best, if there's one thing we could pretty much rely on, it was Mitch Mosser. And if Mitch didn't get it done, we didn't get it done. Now, I'm not saying he didn't make any mistakes, but he got it done. He stepped up, did what he had to do, and we became a better team for that, and ended up being a great team for that. missing the national championship by 3 points. In 2001, when I left Nebraska Wesleyan to go to Morningside College to be the head coach there, the first guy that crossed my mind to go with me was Mitch Mosser. And I think we did talk about it a time or two, but by the time I got the job in late May, Mitch thought he had a better gig, Nebraska Omaha, and it turned out very well for him. The only problem with that is instead of coaching with him and having him sit on my bench, I had to coach against him. And that was the first time that's ever happened, and to be very honest with you, I hated it. Aside from the pounding that we usually got for Nebraska. As I say, I don't know any of his statistics. The only other thing the statistic that I know about Mitch Mosser is that he's a winner. He is a winner, and I'm proud to be involved with him. It's my honor and my privilege to present Mitch Mosser as a member of the Nebraska Wesleyan University Hall of Fame.
Well, I'm going to dumb this down a little bit. It's been pretty cerebral around here, as you can tell. I didn't think my academics would come up quite so soon. First of all, I'd like to thank Coach Bargan. Being an assistant coach for a while, it's a thankless job. You're kind of behind the scenes. He was a very important cog. He recruited a lot of the difference-making players that I played with, and we're very appreciative to still have him in our life. He spends time with us still, golf tournaments. We still do some stuff kind of informally, so you're very appreciative. I'm very appreciative, and it was a very nice speech, and not bad for a guy who spent a significant amount of time at Doane. He was an assistant there prior to his arrival at Wesleyan, so you got to figure it out.
Everybody sees the light.
Secondly, I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee. I appreciate this honor. It's a great honor. Dr. Rolls, Dr. Zeff, Joe Bunstock, I see Jim Angeli, some familiar faces. It's really a neat group to come in with. Sandy and Gina and Brandon and I. Sorry to Mr. Sykes, but it's a good group to come in with, recognizing people and at least being familiar with some of what's going on. So very neat group to go in with. To recognize my biggest supporters, my family. They've been going to games since I was old enough to run around and play sports. Of course, my mom and dad, they've been there through it all. Tim Mosser, and my mom is actually on FaceTime. She's having a couple test runs, so she didn't have a chance to get here, but she's missed. Both my brother Matt and Todd, thank you for beating on me as a child. They're both older than I am. My competitive spirit is definitely a result of my brothers and all of the basement games and games we made up and playing outside. So again, thank you for that. Their wives, their family, I'm going to go through everybody. Sorry to do this to you guys. My brother Matt and his wife Jen are here. I'm going to embarrass the kids here in a minute, so we'll get to them. My brother Todd and his wife Amy. Of course, my lovely wife Sam, who I'll get to in a little while. She told me not to try to be funny, so I'm trying, honey, sorry. My in-laws are here as well, George and Marge Spencer, and my sister-in-law Jenny and her daughter Dagny. But if I could have all the Mosser kids stand up, I actually have this on. Can you stand up? If you're too short, get up on there's some missing, I think, right? Basically, the reason I'm doing this is to embarrass them. It is it's kind of my goal in life is to make sure that they put the iPhones down and their cheeks get a little bit red. But the main reason is you guys can sit down if you'd like to. I'm just hopeful for them to find something as passionate as I was about athletics, and I know they're kind of started off on the right foot, whether it's athletics or not. Just finding something to be passionate about and have the experiences that I had through athletics, through this university, is something that I would be proud if they could accomplish, because I've had great experiences through my life. A couple folks who are not here, Todd Reardon, He was the head coach when I was here. Again, Coach Bargan and Coach Reardon had a big influence on my life. If you were here during those times, Coach Reardon and I had an interesting relationship. Is that a good way to describe it? Good. We definitely like to talk back and forth. He usually won those arguments, but we definitely did have some conversations. I'm not sure if I'm going to tell these stories. I'm trying to get you guys out of here. Coach Bachman was my baseball coach. I just wanted to bring, baseball was kind of my secondary hobby. And Coach Bachman, if you knew Coach Bachman, the one thing that I will always remember about him is he had cool blues. If you spent any time in our dugout, he always had Brock's cool blue mint candies with him, and I'm not sure what it did, but he would put one in prior to the first pitch and then get really excited for about 2 or 3 innings. I've got no explanation for it. I don't think there was anything weird about it other than I just remember it. But maybe one of the nicest, most genuine human beings I've ever met. Almost to the point, me coming from Omaha and being a little bit of a city boy, thinking he was so nice it may be disingenuous. He was that nice of a guy. And it sounds like he's had some health issues, and he's in our prayers because he might be struggling a little bit. I talked to Coach Chafee earlier. The last thing I'd like to do, the one statistic that I do remember and very proud of, because as I told you earlier, I'm extremely competitive, is my all-time assist record. I need to recognize 3 of my teammates. I'll tell you a quick story about all of them. I was lucky enough to play with 3 guys, and they all had a different impact on me. The first one is Jay Spearman. I'll never forget Jay. Jay was the most talented player that I ever played with. Jay, in my freshman year, did not refer to me by name. He had a nickname that I cannot tell you what it is, but he never called me Mitch or Mosser or anything else. It was definitely a term of endearment. Would you say that? Yes. No, I won't use it. I won't use it. But I can remember coming out of high school. You know, you always think that you're the best player. My ego was a little out of check, and I'll never forget. After one film session with Coach Reardon, he said, "Mosser, why don't you stick around a little bit?" It was in Taylor Gym. I was lucky enough to have half of my career at Taylor Gym and at the new Snyder Arena. We were up in one of the classrooms. He said, "Mosser, why don't you stick around for a couple minutes here?" And that usually when I was about to get yelled at or we were about to get in an argument of some sort. And he rewound it to a spot where it was a 3-on-1 break. I don't want to give you guys play-by-play stuff, but 3-on-1 break, and I've got a Division I transfer, Tom Bird on my left. I've got Jay Spearman, another Division I transfer on my right, and I am a true freshman. And I decide to pull up and shoot a running, one-handed double pump from the free throw line as a freshman. To which he asked me, "Mosser, do you think that was a very good shot?" And I said, "Coach, we're up by 20, and I thought it was suspect, but you know, I'd probably do it again." To which we went through about 10 minutes of, "You're right, no, I'm right, no, you're right, I'm right." To which he ended the conversation. I had no response for this when I said, "Well, would you be talking to Jay Spearman if he took that shot like this?" And he said, "Mitch, I got news for you. You're no Jay Spearman." I learned my place early. That was my freshman year. Kip Kissinger. This is kind of a weird statement to say. Kip is my basketball soulmate. He and I had a chemistry. I can't understand it. I won't try to explain it to you. He and I just got along from the minute we met, especially on the basketball court. Off it, we got into we had plenty of fun and trouble together. But on the court, maybe the hardest working player I was ever around. He changed the culture, I feel, at Wesleyan. His hard work, his determination, and his fierce competitiveness. I wasn't going to bring this up because it's academic related, but Kip and I actually had a argument 2 years ago about who was going to go into the Hall of Fame first. Pretty egotistical, I understand, but if you've been around Kip and I, it was pretty ugly. Again, for some reason I keep coming up on the short end of all these arguments. Kip ended it by saying, Mitch, I'm an academic All-American. And I knew that I was going to the Hall of Fame second. Which did happen. 2 years ago? 2 years ago, yeah. One story I'll tell about him, his fierce competitiveness and the culture change that happened when Kip came. Kip never lost a running drill. Anytime we ran suicides, we ran length of the floor in practice, Kip never lost. We had a rough practice, and I'm pretty, you probably remember this. We were not allowed to leave until someone beat Kip. And we got to about, and I'm an embellisher, I'll go down a little bit. I think we were on our 15th suicide, and he said, you are not leaving until somebody catches Kip. To which J.J. Wilkins, our big strong center, and Jay Spearman moved over and surrounded Kip. We're on the line, ready to start. Wilkins trips Kip, and we head, and nobody, Kip got up, tripped a little bit, got up, and was still leading going into the final one. And then, for those of you who knew Jay was very talented and had an extra gear that no one else had, and it took Jay diving at the line to catch Kip. But I just like to tell that story because Kip is, he's just one of those guys. He was not going to slow down for us, and it changed our culture. Some of the guys got weeded out through his competitiveness, and our final 2 years we had some pretty great teams. I do have the stats, and I'm not going to bore you with them. The last one is Jeff Miller. You always have a special place in your heart with the guys that came in. You guys probably won't know Jeff. He's an unsung hero. The culture change. He was definitely a role player on our teams. He was someone who didn't have to have the ball all the time, did his job, came to practice, kept his mouth shut. His nickname from Jay Spearman our freshman year was Philo Beto. Does anybody know that reference? No? The mild-mannered 1978 movie, Clint Eastwood. No? Mild-mannered, fist fighter, yeah. Jeff was the nicest guy ever. He would never fight anybody. So Jay decided to call him Philo Beto, which if any of my teammates were here, they'd probably be laughing and punching. That's it. That's it for the stories. Thanks again for this wonderful honor, and good luck to all the teams this weekend. Go Wolves. Go Wolves. Go Blazers. Go Wolves.
Congratulations, Mitch. Got to have those cool blue mints for those nose-to-nose arguments coaches have with referees and umpires. 1998, a popular year. Our next inductee is Brandon Shore from the class of 1998. And now here to present Brandon's award is Nebraska Wesleyan assistant track coach and Hall of Fame member Scott Etherton. Will you both please come to the podium?
Thank you. I'd like to begin by congratulating all the other inductees this morning. I'm honored today to introduce Brandon Shore to the Wesleyan Hall of Fame. Brandon was an outstanding multi-event athlete, competing mainly in the hurdles and high jump. His seemingly effortless technique was a joy to watch. Head track coach Ted Bowling was unable to be here this morning for the presentation, but he wrote the following for me to read. I truly wish that I could be at the Hall of Fame breakfast this morning. It is one of my favorite events of the year. We are hosting the annual Woody Greeno Cross Country Invitational this morning at Pioneer Park here in Lincoln. And I suppose when you invite a bunch of schools to your home cross country meet and 32 of them accept your invitation and plan to bring 740 runners to your meet, the coach who invited them had better show up. Ted also goes on to say, I first want to congratulate all the Hall of Fame inductees. I had the pleasure of being Jerry Sykes' teammate and can personally attest to what a great player Jerry was. Having seen Sandy, Gina, and Mitch perform, I know that they too are very worthy new members of the Hall of Fame. I can still remember sitting in Brandon Shore's parents' living room in the spring of 1993. Brandon is one of the very top athletes in track and field in the state of Nebraska. and I knew what a valuable addition he would be to our program. When I left Brandon's home that evening, I was even more determined that he needed to be at Nebraska Wesleyan. After having the opportunity to talk with Brandon and his parents face to face and get to know them a bit better, I knew that not only Brandon would leave his mark as a great athlete at Nebraska Wesleyan, but that he was also exactly the kind of young man that I wanted in our program. Brandon's character and integrity was evident to me even as a high school senior, and he certainly continued that during his Wesleyan career. Brandon, thank you for your tremendous athletic accomplishments and being to this day, a great ambassador for the track and field program at Wesleyan. Thank you, Ted. Brandon was a 12-time All-American in the hurdles and the high jump, a multiple-time conference champion, and won a national championship in the high jump. Besides Ted, he was coached by Chris Baum and myself. One of Chris's memorable moments was an indoor conference track meet at Dome. He had requested to move the high jump pit to allow Brandon to use his full distance approach, which would not have been possible otherwise. The officials allowed the change, and it was quite a sight watching Brandon start his approach inside a classroom, exiting through the doorway, running out onto the track, and then clearing the bar. Wesleyan went on to dominate that event and therefore leading to the conference championship. One of my recollections is Brandon's senior year at the NCAA Indoor Championships. 3 Wesleyan hurdlers qualified for the meet, and all 3 of them made it into the finals. They finished 5th, 6th, and 7th, with Brandon leading the way. One of the other hurdlers is Gina's husband, Brent. He was also on the team at that point in time. At that championship, he also placed 5th in the high jump. Beyond Brandon's athletic accomplishments, he excelled as a leader on the team, and he was just an all-around good guy. His enjoyment and commitment to the sport continue to serve him to this day, and he currently coaches track at Lincoln Northeast High School. Ted, Chris, and I are proud to have him as a friend, and I'm very proud to introduce him into the Nebraska Wesleyan Athletic Hall of Fame.
That's funny, I forgot about that, but it immediately brought back all the food they had on the right side of that classroom. It was their staging area, and I remember that well. Well, first I just want to thank Wesleyan and the selection committee. It obviously is a tremendous honor, and when I saw the names of those that were going in to the Hall of Fame this year, knowing most of them and having gone and supporting them through all of their events, I knew the quality of athletes that would be coming in, and so it was a tremendous honor, obviously. I also want to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I know how cliche that can be sometimes in the sports world today, but in reality, nothing that I did I would have been able to do without him and the gifts that he gave to me. I want to share just a quick story to kind of tell you, I have some thank yous that I want to give to the coaches that helped me. And I started running track when I was about 5 years old. And when I got to youth track, I ran my first hurdle race. And as I remember, it was in Kansas City, Missouri. And I don't remember a lot of details about it, but I'm pretty sure I didn't finish very well. And because the one thing I do remember is that I spent the next 20 minutes in the back of the ambulance with them wiping the track off my face and knees and elbows. So that's what they got to work with. I got some great coaches through high school. Roy Churchill, who's since passed away, took me in as a freshman and taught me the hurdles. My high jump coach, Tom Foch, head coach is Ted Larson. Thank them for their guidance and continued friendship. I also want to obviously thank Ted Bowling and Chris. I didn't expect to be here. Thank you for coming, and it means a lot. Scott, my hurdle coach. Chris was my high jump coach. Learned a ton and had some extremely good experiences here. And as you've heard through some of the other speakers, not only do you remember some of the meets, but you remember some of those other things too. playing cards in the hotel, and just those probably a lot later than Ted would like us to before meet, but just those fun things that you get to experience as athletes. Lastly, I want to share and thank my family throughout my entire career. Now that I have 3 kids that are pretty active myself, I have a great appreciation for what it means to get kids to practice and how much time you can spend doing that. So thank you very much. I always knew that you guys were in the stands. My brother, Travis, probably spent a lot more time in the stands than he cared to at that age. My mom and dad, I always knew they were in the stands. Dad, just because I would probably classify him as more of the quiet analytic type. I knew Mom was there for a different reason. And most people knew Mom was there, but I don't bring that up to embarrass you, but just to thank you, because you have no idea how many finish lines. I always seem to do this at these banquets. How many finish lines you pulled me through. Lastly, I want to thank my beautiful wife, Kelly. She was my wife the last 2 years that I was here. We were married. She supported me through my junior and senior year. And just want to thank you for all of the support that you gave me, probably all behind the scenes. And I'm not here without you, so thank you.
Congratulations, Brandon. Well, our Spirit of the Plainsman Award is next. We have come to that award, which recognizes outstanding support of Nebraska Wesleyan's athletic programs. This year, we have 2 recipients. The first award winner is Bill Luxford. And here to present Bill's award, Nebraska Wesleyan Athletic Director Ira Zeff. Ira and Bill to the podium.
First off, I'd like to add my congratulations to all of our Hall of Famers. What a great class it is, and we're very, very proud to call you Hall of Famers at Nebraska Wesleyan University. Let's have a big round of applause for all of them again. And it's now my honor to present Bill Luxford as a Spirit of the Plainsman Award winner for 2013. Bill Luxford is a visionary. He's a dreamer who has the work ethic, the determination, and as Larry the cable guy says, get her done attitude that allowed him to make his visions a reality. For Nebraska Wesleyan and his devotion to our institution, I think it was about 10 years ago, came to me and talked about putting Nebraska Wesleyan football games on television. And he talked about Channel 21, and quite honestly, Bill, I'd never heard of Channel 21 before you came to my office. But he was sold that he wanted to make this commitment to Nebraska Wesleyan and put our product, our football program, our institution out in front of the public through Channel 21. He talked about he's going to get sponsors, and financially we're going to be able to do this. I believe LES and Union Bank were probably those first sponsors that you were able to gather. And we're moving forward under Bill's direction and his vision to get Nebraska Wesleyan football on TV. His crew, one part of his vision was to establish a group of people that were just as dedicated as he is. A lot of them this year's crew are standing in the back, and guys, I really appreciate all you've done for Nebraska Wesleyan over the years. Some of you have been there since the beginning, but if you'll help me thank them, they're the ones that put it on. Since that first year, Bill has continued to have a vision and is always looking for creative ways to make our product better. He let it grow. He covered some volleyball games, basketball games, besides just football. Created the sideline reporter. You know, we see it on TV all the time on the big games, but Bill had that vision. I can attest, I actually was interviewed on the sideline by our sideline reporter one time. It was a great addition, and he just kept continuing to grow what we were doing and making this big time. And it's just been a marvelous thing to watch him and his creative mind work. He thought our intro to the games needed enhancing, so one year he decided he was going to get a helmet cam on our football players at practice. And so you got the inside view of watching them practice and what they're going through and the hitting and so forth that they were doing on a daily basis. He took the production truck on the road, did a couple road games, and I think we went down to Dome, maybe Concordia one time. And so we had our road games on TV as well. 5 years ago probably was his biggest vision, to enhance our program and the television a little bit more and the in-game part of the program. He said, I think I can get a video replay board that I can rent for one day. And so for homecoming about 5 years ago, we had a video board sitting on the track on a trailer, and we showed video replays during the game. From that vision, we have the permanent video board in the southeast corner of the stadium, thanks to the Gardner Foundation, who saw his dream and wanted to make that a permanent part of Nebraska Wesleyan football. And without you, Bill, that would not have happened. Bill, your vision, determination, and your get-her-done attitude have made Nebraska Wesleyan much, much better. It's bigger, it's better. You truly have the spirit of a Plainsman, and I thank you.
Congratulations, Bill. Well, our other Spirit of the Plainsman Award winner is former Nebraska Wesleyan football coach Jim Svoboda. Coach Svoboda is currently the head football coach at Central Missouri. He's preparing for a game this afternoon, and so, of course, is not here today, but will be honored on February 15th at halftime of a Nebraska Wesleyan basketball game. Once again, let's give a round of applause for all of the inductees and awardees. This concludes today's program. Thank you for coming.